Can everyone hear me in the back? Can everyone hear me in the back? Okay. Thank you all for coming out this evening. This is an affordable housing movement. This is our second forum on affordable housing. If you did not receive the literature or sign in out front, there's some information on what the guidelines mean for you and your family and the introduction of affordable housing. It's helpful information if you don't have it. I would like to introduce to you our moderator for this evening, Peter Meyer. We also have Brenda Adams from Habitat of Humanity. We have Jason O'Toole from Galvin Resources. And we also have Anthony Lawlett from Bliss Towers, Executive Director of Public Housing. We're going to start the forum. The moderator will introduce the speakers as they begin, and we will hold questions at the end. Thank you. Peter?
I can at least test this. I'm not sure if I need it. Tiffany did fine without it, I think, right?
No, it's better.
It's better with this, right? Okay. So, welcome everyone. Thank you, Tiffany. Thank you, Rebecca Wolf. If you don't know Rebecca Wolf, Michael, is she in the room? I don't know. You might have met her at the desk. For organizing this event along with Michael Chamides. And I'm really, is this okay? You're making, is this okay? Can we hear? And I really appreciate the turnout tonight. This is a great event, and I was very pleased to be asked to be moderator. I thought it might have had something to do that I used to be on the school board and was, probably good at crowd control. In fact, I just came from a third grade graduation of sorts today, and we're starting a program in Hudson teaching kids how to be journalists. And one of our interns, Olivia Oddie, prepared one of the handouts tonight, and I'm really proud of what she's been able to do in a short time, learning how to research and write. And I would also, any of the handouts you get for you old-timers, veterans of Hudson that know much more than we know, please let us know so that we can correct the record. And I'm not going to introduce, you just heard who the panelists are. We'll get to these folks in a moment, and Tiffany outlined what the program would be. They'll be speaking each for about 5 minutes, who they are and what they do and what they think is, and why we're here. Then from there we'll go asking questions, and we want this to be a forum, so we expect a conversation, which I will try to moderate, and that'll be the way we go. The best way. I don't know the sort of official history of affordable housing in Hudson, but I know when I got here in the 80s, the public housing projects were the shining lights on a hill when you got to Hudson. In those days, I always remember seeing what I now know are the terrace apartments on the river, with the grass cut and the grass green, and they look beautiful. Bliss Towers look beautiful. It was the rest of Hudson. The rest of Hudson didn't look beautiful, and we've gone from that point to the opposite, to a time when the affordable housing units and public housing units are beginning to fail, and the rest of the town looks spectacular. We've gone from affordable housing to $1 million houses, to rents that people can't afford. My friends downtown have been talking about their rents going up for at least 6 months. I had a conversation with Ed Cross about 3 weeks ago, maybe a little longer, and both of us, just in our 10-15 minute conversation, we both realized that something very important is happening in Hudson. And I'm very happy that I was allowed to come down and moderate this event. So, without further ado, let's let Brenda go. Is Brenda going first, or we'll just go? No, Jason.
Yes.
You can stand. You can have the mic. Go ahead. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. My name again is Jason O'Toole. I'm the Director of Property Management for the Galvin Foundation. And I wanted to start first by letting you know what our mission is. The Galvin Foundation's mission is to enhance the quality of life of people and communities of Columbia County. And we do this by providing solutions to current and future needs of our communities. Planning programs and initiatives that address the diverse economic and social needs of our communities. And we provide grants to other nonprofit organizations so that we can strengthen their capacity to help others in the community. And we develop real estate and provide direct services responsive to the community needs. And we work with others that really are in line with our mission and that are committed to strengthening the needs of the communities. And affordable housing is one of the key elements to our mission statement. And the Galvin Foundation has been here since 2004 with a strong commitment to the social issues and needs of the communities. And Galvin Foundation has 186 units of affordable housing. And we serve the families of our communities that have income limits between 30% and 80% AMI, area medium income. And I think it's important to note that the area medium income is established by the United States Housing and Urban Development, or short HUD. And we really are committed to our community and to the future in reference to affordable housing. And tonight, we actually wanted to take this forum to announce something. So the Galvin Foundation is really proud to announce this evening that we are committed in the next 3 years to provide 20 to 25 units of affordable housing for the city of Hudson for families with the income limits between 50% and 80% AMI. We're going to provide 1- and 2-bedroom apartments. We're very proud about this announcement. And the Galvin Foundation is committed to the community and to the future. We look forward to the future, actually, to having announcements like this. And when I think about the future, and we really look to the future in terms of affordable housing, we realize that even though this announcement is very important, we know there's more that needs to be done. We do. And we feel that there needs to be some commitments from the city of Hudson to really commit to having a consistent pilot program for nonprofit organizations that are providing affordable housing. This will help the organizations that are developing to continue with their mission in Hudson, but also give incentives for other affordable housing developers to come into Hudson and be able to help with the needs that we have. And when we think about the needs, there are waiting lists out there for affordable housing units that are 300, 600, even some as high as 800. There's a great need for affordable housing in the city of Hudson. And we really feel this would help. This is one key element to helping with the issues that we face. So thank you very much.
Take notes. We're going to try and hold our questions until everybody on the panel gets a chance to speak, if that's okay. Anthony?
Good evening, everyone. My name is Anthony Wallach. I'm the Executive Director of the Hudson Housing Authority. Most of you know the Hudson Housing Authority by the new Liz Towers, the high-rise down on 2nd Street. I started the position back at the end of March, and I inherited a building with 132 public housing units. In addition to that, we also have approximately 130 housing choice vouchers, also known as Section 8. The problems facing Bliss Towers are problems that are facing every housing authority across the country. A lot of people look at Bliss Towers and see an eyesore of a high-rise, but there's so much more to it than just that. Unfortunately, the federal government doesn't really do what they need to do to maintain these buildings. Nationwide, the capital needs of public housing totals about $26 billion. My building alone, I would estimate my capital needs to basically fix up the entire building to be anywhere from probably about $8 to $10 million. Just to put that into perspective, I receive less than $200,000 a year from HUD to do the capital improvements that are necessary on the building. So what are we supposed to do? I've had people come to me already and say, oh, we should tear that building down. Well, you need to do this, you need to do that. Well, one does not just tear down a federal public housing development. Okay, it's not going anywhere. It's a 44-year-old building,
Can you
which
repeat that again, please? Because a lot of people have the perception that this tower is going down.
just to repeat, Bliss Towers is not going anywhere. It's approximately a 44-year-old building, which, as far as public housing goes, it's about middle-aged right now. So there's still many years behind it. So one of my tasks is to work on trying to improve the conditions of the building for my residents, as well as to make it, fit in better with the neighborhood. An interesting thing that struck me about the neighborhood when I first came to town was there's so much affordable housing condensed into one area, okay? There's another side to affordable housing, and I have such an appreciation for what Galvin does because they do offer housing elsewhere in the city besides in this one little stretch of Hudson. The frustration that I have and the challenge that I have is, as I mentioned, I have about 130 housing choice vouchers. About half of them are leased up, which means I've got 60 some odd vouchers that are just sitting there. Why are they sitting there? It's not because we're not trying to get people to use them. It's because a lot of times their vouchers expire because they cannot find suitable private housing in the city of Hudson. My voucher program is limited to the 12534 zip code, so they cannot leave the area. Their voucher must stay here at least for a year. So that's kind of where we try to look at things and see how we can get creative. One of the things that I'm looking at to try to get better utilization out of my vouchers is looking at a concept called Project Basic. Okay, under HUD regulations, I'm permitted to project base some of my vouchers, and which would entail me doing like a request for proposals from developers who are looking to do affordable housing, and then we can assign vouchers to those units. Okay, it would help create opportunities outside the central affordable housing core, as I consider it, as well as provide some decent rental income to landlords in the area, because again, the voucher holders, the people utilizing the vouchers, are still limited to 30% of their income, okay? But then the rest of that is made up by the voucher itself, so the federal government actually pays those increased rents. Under a project-based voucher, you can have a rent that's up to 110% over the fair market rent for the city of Hudson. So that is, one option. By law, I'm allowed to have up to 20% of my vouchers go for Project Basic. So, that's a pretty sizable number. I can do about 25 vouchers, which could be an immediate shot in the arm if, partnering with the right developers that wish to, do things like that. Back to Bliss Tower, again, a lot of people say, well, what are you going to do? There's not many options. We take it day by day. A lot of it's Band-Aid on top of Band-Aid. There are some programs out there that I'm exploring. There's one that HUD has out there now. It's called the Rental Assistance Demonstration. And I have to stress the word demonstration. It's a demonstration program that's limited to 185,000 units nationwide. So right now, Hudson is not in a position to participate in this program, but we are on the waiting list. But what this program does is it allows us to convert that building into a project-based housing development. What that does is it allows us to approach private investors. Right now, as a federally subsidized housing development, we're prohibited from getting private developers to invest into the building. under the rental assistance demonstration, that prohibition goes away. So what that would allow us to do is it would allow us to do major rehabilitation to the building. By law and contractually, would maintain the building as low-income housing. There's, you know, it's not as though, okay, I have a private investor, they walk off with it and say, okay, we're going to raise all the rents. That can't happen legally. And then it would help stabilize that building. And then in turn, you stabilize the building, you stabilize the immediate area around it. So that's kind of what I'm looking at doing in my time here at Hudson.
Thank you. I'm already overwhelmed. If you've been around Hudson for very long, you've been to many community meetings, and they're as wonderful that they're putting out of information as these two gentlemen have already done. So I think at the end, I want to hear some recommendations on where we go from here, from a practical point of view, in terms of exploring where we go with the topic, what we do with all of the things we've heard tonight, and then we'll save that to the end. Now, Brenda.
Hello, and thank you for inviting me to take part of your discussion, and I'm very pleased to be with you and part of this important conversation. I'm here to advocate for home ownership. I think I'm the only person in the room, or certainly in this table, who's advocating for a home ownership program. But we think that this is an important part of a diverse housing plan for the city, and I'm going to just take a couple of minutes to explain about how our program works, but also why we think that's an important part of any housing plan. The Habitat program is a path to home ownership. We develop owner-occupied, single-family, affordable housing. We build homes for income-qualified families to purchase with an affordable mortgage. And I'm going to repeat that. We build homes for families to purchase, because one of the myths that we're up every day is people think that Habitat gives houses away. Our families earn their houses through volunteering and also through a 30-year mortgage. Our target market or income is working families who earn 25 to 60% of the annual median income that Jason referred to. Just for your reference point, in 2016, the median income for Columbia County was $74,900. So in our context, a family of four, the minimum they could earn to be eligible for a Habitat house would be $18,700 annually. The maximum they could earn would be $44,800 annually. We have three basic criteria for eligibility. The first is the ability to pay. So that means that the total family income for the family to make affordable monthly payments cannot be below the 25% that we just discussed or exceed 60% of the annual median income. Applicants must also be financially ready to apply for a mortgage. It doesn't mean that they have to have no debt. You can have debt. You just have to be responsible in paying your debts or your bills. And you need to make regular payments on those obligations. The second consideration is a willingness to partner. And we don't want to hold out the carrot of home ownership and then have somebody not have the tools to stay in that home. So what we ask them to do is to take a first-time homebuyers course, which includes household budgeting and financial literacy. So when you're sitting at the table with a bank, you understand what kind of agreement that you're signing with the bank. We also ask that the family and their friends and their colleagues, if applicable, invest 300 hours of sweat equity, which is a Habitat term for volunteering. And that volunteering could be in the building of their house, in the building of another Habitat house. It could be at our resale store, the Restore, or it could be in our office. And the final thing, as part of that willingness to partner, is that we ask that the family understand what it is to take financial and maintenance responsibility for a home. And the last issue, or the last qualification for Habitat ownership, is the need for adequate housing. And that typically means that a family is unable to financially unable to qualify for a conventional loan, that their current home is substandard, or that it has an inadequate number of bedrooms as determined by the number, ages, and sex of the household members, or that their current neighborhood is unsuitable. We have built or rehabbed 15 houses in Hudson, placing 28 adults and 46 children, or 74 people in safe, affordable homes. In the 8 years that I've been with Habitat, we've been the only developer of single-family housing in Hudson. And over the same period, the number of rental units in Hudson have decreased, and rents have continued to rise, while wages have remained stagnant. And over the same period, applications for Habitat homes have quadrupled. And I learned this morning at an interagency conference at Columbia Green College, I see a number of familiar faces here, that there is a serious connection between affordable housing and a livable wage, that the wage required to sustain an affordable home, not a market rate home, but an affordable home in Columbia County is $13.75. The wage that the average Columbia County working family makes is $10.75. So they're already behind the curve in terms of how much they earn before they even get into the rental or purchasing market. We believe that, and this is going back to the advocacy piece, that single-family affordable housing is not only an important part of a diverse and sustainable housing plan. We believe that single-family homes reflect the scale and the density of lot footprints in Hudson, and that directly correlates to the quality of life in Hudson. We also believe that single-family housing encourages foot traffic and community engagement. After all, if you live in the community where you work, the same time that you would spend in a car going to work, you could spend coaching a Little League team, volunteering for the fire company, teaching English as a second language, volunteering at Cornell Cooperative Extension, all the things that Habitat family members do as part of their daily lives. Most importantly, we know through the 20 families that we've helped that home ownership is a game changer. It provides a sanctuary. We interviewed our families last year as part of a piece that we wanted to do for a grant. And the single most frequent answer to what does home ownership mean to you was that it provided a sanctuary from the real world, from the working world. They could come home and be themselves with their families. And that their families went from surviving to thriving in their own environment. We also believe that an investment in home ownership provides financial leverage and security that most working families will never know. Most of the families that apply to us are paying 40 to 50% of their income for housing. Their second highest cost is, if they have children, is associated with childcare, which it comes in at above 30%. So if you add 30 and 40, that doesn't leave much for insurance or gas or heat or forget going to the movies or McDonald's. You're again behind the 8 ball. If you qualify for the Habitat Home Ownership Program, your mortgage is guaranteed to be no more than 30% of your income. That's the subsidy that we provide for Habitat housing. And I always ask people that we interview either for key volunteer positions or for to become potential Habitat staff 3 questions. And the first of those questions is, what would you like? All things given, what would you like? And I like the fact tonight that this organization and this community is beginning to advocate for affordable housing across a spectrum of local housing needs. And I really like the fact that the grassroots organizing will begin to bridge a gap, a significant gap, between community interest and community needs. The second question that I often ask volunteers is, what do you wish? I really, really wish that we could replicate your activities across the county, because this is a county-wide issue. I also wish that you would hurry up and get a comprehensive plan, because we would like to do more in Hudson. In the last 2 years, we've bid on 2 properties and been turned down. Our bids were the only bids, and those bids were rejected because of a lack of a housing plan in Hudson. It was felt that the land needed to be reserved for a broader initiative or for a plan. So please, community, let's get together and get a plan so we can get some more houses built. I have 50 families, that have applied for housing in Hudson. We have volunteers and we have donations, but we have no land and no plan. So if we can pull together some land and a plan, we are ready to pull the trigger. And the last question I ask volunteers is what if? And this is a question I would like to ask you. All things considered, what if we could do anything? What would we do? And I would like to think that we could live in a city, in a county, in a world where everybody had a decent place to live. And so, thank you.
Someone who's not on the panel, that's a great segue from the no land, no plan observation that Brenda had is to get, I'd like to call it Ed Cross, right now to help give us a little bit of a history of affordable housing in Hudson from a political and governmental perspective to kind of put this in context and find out from what Ed can tell us about the history here, give us some suggestions on where we can go in sort of putting together the kinds of things that Brenda was talking about. Ed, you want to come up, please?
Sure.
You want to? You're used to addressing crowds. And for those, I don't know anyone who doesn't know the Reverend Cross, but please introduce yourself and why you're doing it. You want to take the mic?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Those things scare me. I'm Edward Cross. I'm pastor of Endless Love Temple, and I'm the second ward supervisor. I have lived in Hudson for 68 years. As I remember, my parents' rent was $30. Okay, when I got out of college in '70, my rent was $100. Come a long way, the wrong way, I think. I commend you all for what you have said. But where I'm coming from, it seems like the same song, just a different beat. Okay? We are all part of the problem, so we must be part of the cure. As I look, I got my portable brain here. As I look down, affordable housing relates to quite a few other problems. It relates to crime, possibly drug abuse, health, mental health, social services. These are just a few. In your sleep, you probably can think of some others. On the way out, the rain may hit you and, ooh, that was one. Okay, and bring it back. We as a group have to be about the business of what are we going to do. There's something each and every one of us as individuals can do. You know, we can't lay it just on these people, because 10 years from now, or even 10 days from now, the same problem will be here. As I say, I remember about 25 years ago, when I first got on the Board of Supervisors, we were saying the same thing. And still we are winding up with 6 or 7 people in one house that own, what, 2 bedrooms? We're winding up with people in homeless shelters because there are no houses. Somebody, all of us have to step up. Step up and make that plan. We are our brother's keepers. We ought to be about bringing somebody with us and opening up the doors and letting them step over the threshold.
Yeah.
Yes.
We have a limited amount of time. Could you address real quickly the question of government and what it has done and why you've been in government a long time, right? And why, and we've all been to meetings like this and heard the speeches, why is it that Hudson has not been able to develop a plan over the years? What has it done right and what has it done wrong? We're talking about the government, not the people.
I can only tell you what I've done wrong.
Yeah.
Okay, I can tell you what I've done wrong. What I have done wrong is when I've heard the problem, I worked at it for a few days, maybe a year or two, and then something came up. And the next thing I knew, it was behind me. We have to keep the problem in front of us. Maybe we can't deal with all the problems, but we need to identify one, and work for the prize, which is people living in their own houses, be it rent or ownership, whatever have you, but a person having a safe place that they can feel comfortable in. When I go into my house and shut the door, only thing left is what's in my house. I've shut out the outside. And that's what we need. That's what many of us need, is a place to shut out what's happening in this world so we can be better equipped to step out one more time.
Okay. Sorry, I hate to cut you off. Now, in that spirit too, because this is, as I said, a forum, and we want to hear, this is not, and we have some experts here, we've got plenty of things that we can ask them, but we have plenty of room to make suggestions on affordable housing, not speeches necessarily, but we're here to also. Excuse me?
For making the speech, I apologize.
No, that's fine. I said short speeches, Twitter speeches.
I've been here all night.
That's all right. No, we're really here to have a conversation, so if I could just, I have 1,000 questions, but I'm not going to bore all you with them. So if I can, I would like to just open it up to the community here, and Tiffany is reaching for the mic, and I would never say no to Tiffany.
Yeah, I would like to stand out here.
Speak up, please.
Yeah, I'm a lifelong resident of Hudson also. I've been here for 46 years. And, working in social justice for the last 5 years, and really recognizing the problem that's going on in my city. And a lot of people like myself, we have heard from experts. We have heard from, the so-called experts and people like the gentleman and the young lady that's on the panel today. I think it was refreshing to hear from Reverend Cross. And I would like to hear more, of the impassioned speeches and things like that, because it brings a perspective from the everyday person, from the person that's a lifelong resident of Hudson that's been enduring some of these problems, not those that's been trying to fix the problem per se. So I would love to hear more, from gentlemen like Reverend Cross and those impassioned speeches, because it makes me, it gives me a better opportunity to identify, as opposed to listening to the experts. I've been listening to the experts, again, being the eldest of my mother's children, and listening to my mother lament about, rent and things like that. So again, dealing with this problem for 46 years, being a lifelong resident of Hudson, I would love to hear from gentlemen like Reverend Cross, and I would love to hear those speeches as opposed to, the data that's out there, because the data that's out there does not do anything for individuals such as myself and the people that I'm surrounded with, that's still struggling, outside this data. So that's just something I want to
You
say.
made a great point, but we are short on time, and we wanted to have questions answered for people in the audience. Anyone have questions? I see Bill hands in the back, and Eileen, and Deuce had his hand up first.
Thanks for giving me an opportunity.
Questions?
Question was, I'm as a city alderman since 11, 12 years, but I know that what is the problem was it. Problem is between city and builders. They cannot come up the plan. Like I have a lot of faith in the Galvin Foundation. They can build a lot of housing, but you have to have a collaboration between city and government and Galvin. Galvin has a lot of land or a lot of space having this in Hudson. So if we are coming down, collaborate each other to make an affordable housing, we have to understand that Hudson City is a very small city and very small places, and we need a huge demand of the affordable housing. So Brenda doing very well, it's a couple of years, but we need a multiple unit housing. That's the huge demand. So, and Village Tower is my work, this is my heart. It's problem. I don't know how it is solved it, and this I see from the leak in the leaking in the ground on the water, all kind of problem with this problem. So I believe so we should come together, making a plan with the city of the city. Especially I have a faith, Galvin and Habitat can work for all together, making a nice house in affordable house. So thank you.
Thanks, Andres. Speaking of a plan, could someone here, have we had any plans in Hudson? Could someone speak to that?
I know it was either the Hudson Development Corporation or the HCDPA did a housing survey. Does anybody know what year the survey, Carol, do you know what year the survey was?
2012.
2012. So
I
there
think
is,
that we have that referenced in Olivia Audie's paper that was handed out.
it's a
this morning.
good baseline
Right.
document though.
Thank you, yeah. One other question, if you could also, it was raised indirectly about the amount of communication between the different affordable housing groups and committees and commissions. I mean, is there a newsletter? Do we need a Hudson Housing Commissioner? I think, you know, Ed alluded to this, and I think anybody that's been here for more than 10 minutes knows that we've been talking about this for a long time. Could you folks address, or anybody in the audience feels capable of addressing it, what kinds of means of communication among affordable housing organizations and constituencies there are? No? Tara?
Well, I work at the school district. Do I need the mic?
No, you're doing fine.
I work at the school district as a social worker who works with the homeless students across the district, and also sit on the Columbia Green Housing Coalition, and so do you, Sue. And I know that I had no knowledge that this forum was taking place, and until I received an email from Peter. So there's an avenue for communication between there's the Fair Housing with Bill Fisher, and there's the Columbia Green Housing Coalition that our parent organization is CARES or something like that, right? I'm looking for help back there. And then there's the reentry program, and so there's so many programs that touch on the housing and the lack of affordable housing, and DSS has a very large commitment to creating affordable housing, and so communication seems to be imperative, as does a plan. And I don't know, maybe that could be the Hudson, what is it on Facebook? The community, what the heck is
It
that?
was on the community board, I just
Yeah.
wanted to.
It was?
Yes.
Okay.
See, this is our second forum, and we're gonna have more. You know, this is the first panelist, and like I said, this is the second one. We're gonna have more. The goal is, out of these discussions, to actually have some shovel in the ground and doing work. We're not excluding anyone.
Oh, I don't mean that,
We
yeah.
want everyone to be a part of the table.
And the more bodies, the better.
Absolutely.
The more bodies and the more,
Absolutely.
but too many minds, then you don't get a plan because everybody's kind of skedaddling. So to have an organization where everyone would get the information and create more interest and more passion. We need the passion, we need talking about the reality of what's going on. I agree with you.
Is there a
You said that.
timeline? Is there a timeline? So,
A timeline.
A timeline, because, you know, this is our second forum, and we will have more forums.
Right.
You know, and again.
So maybe, I'll tell you what we do at the,
Timeline would take.
Let's do it at the end.
In the government, and these people.
we're getting through it, I think we're gonna do it at the end. We'll try to take care of where we go from here. Is that Billy Hughes out there? His hand's been up for a long time, so I'm not calling him, no, just kidding. Come on, Billy Hughes, introduce yourself, please, for those people who don't know you.
Bill Hughes, supervisor for the city of Hudson and minority leader on the board. What I want to bring up is some of the points you guys brought up was great and what Brenda brought up. What you asked for, Peter, is actually communication and bringing all these people together through the county board of supervisors where Ed and I are part of. We actually hired a consultant that came in and will be releasing a study that was done countywide, focusing specifically on the city of Hudson, while also other towns. once that study is then released to us on the board and also the city of Hudson, we are going to engage in affordable housing project, not only in Hudson, but throughout all of Columbia County. And we just saw the pots of money that are being released by the governor, so we are actively and really diligently going to go after those monies, and we're going to lobby. So that's taking place. But I also had a question.
Sorry to interrupt, is there a name to that group? That group has a name and a contact, does it contact you?
We hired Bill Teeter through DSS. And that's what she was talking about with Terry. She had mentioned that DSS is really going after.
DSS is Department of Social Services, which is a county agency, correct? Okay.
I just had a question for Anthony, and these are softball questions, I just want the rest of the crowd to know. One is, what is the value of the cash voucher that a landlord would receive if they were to get it?
Well, the value of the voucher depends on the number of bedrooms. So, you know, it depends on how big the unit is, how big the household is.
Okay, say 1 bedroom.
So, like a 1 bedroom, off the top of my head, I believe a 1 bedroom voucher has a payment standard of approximately $796.
Okay, thank you. The second question I had was, for your budget, and this is for the benefit of the people out here, who is totally responsible for your budget? Where do you go?
For my operating budget?
Yes.
Okay, so I compile an operating budget based on current expenditures, you know, historical expenditures. I present that to my Board of Commissioners. I have a 7-member Board of Commissioners, and then they approve or disapprove the budget. You know, thankfully at my last board meeting, they approved my operating budget for my 2017-18 fiscal year. But
That's a fully federal funded budget, right?
it's primarily federally funded. It's federal funds as well as rents. Those are my 2 main revenue streams.
Thank you.
Sir, would you mind identifying yourself?
Sure. Well, I'm Timothy Smith, and I'm a stonemason, and I've been training youth for 30 years, and this town has fantastic youth. 80% of the kids that I get from the schools or whatever, I'm now retired, so I'm going to stay on this huge question that you guys have brought up. It's very clear. But what we're not doing is training our youth to do the work on these wonderful buildings that you're going to make available. Quest Artist is dropping the ball. The thing about Quest Artist, it costs quite a lot of money, so that the schools like Taconic Hills and Hudson have to pay $30,000, and those kids that they send there have to be responding to regular school. There's 25% of the kids in our schools who are dropping out by the 10th grade. That's 1 in 4. And these kids can be trained to do really good work. They're just not getting it from our system. So D.D. Barrett's got a huge program for apprenticeship training, and that's going in the right direction. But in 5 years down the road, all these things that you guys are talking about are all going to come to fruition. By the way. But we're not going to have the people to do the work, except union people, 45-year-old people, or I'm 72. No, these have to be done by 14, 15, and 16-year-old kids. And I'm just making that point.
Thank you. Thank you. I have to speak up for a good friend of mine who teaches at Quest Carpentry, and I've seen his work, and I know that individuals in Quest Art, and if you aren't familiar with Quest Art, it's out on Route 66 across from the new, what's the new place? But take a visit. It's got a lot of good things going on, but it's, as Timothy says, it's probably not adequate. Eileen?
Yes, thank you. Eileen Holler. And it seems as though from what everyone has said so far tonight, including that talk about job training and a little bit of a mention of transportation, all of that plays into what we can afford to live here. Can we get transportation to a good job? Do we have the skills to get them? I wanted to ask kind of a detailed question, and the answer can come at another time. But Jason, you mentioned some kind of standard pilot. I'm a little bit familiar with the pilot arrangement for Hudson Housing Authority, which is kind of gross shelter rents minus some expenses. There's old Article 5s, and I don't even know if those can be done anymore. And then there is the straight, start at 50% of your assessment and go up until, and I wonder, Brenda, if a pilot is something, if the city were to do standardized pilots for affordable housing, if maybe it shouldn't be looked at for affordable housing that you can own.
Well, one of the things that, one of the good occurrences tonight is after Jason spoke, he leaned over and said, we need to talk. So we'll find out what that conversation is, but I think one of those doors opened or windows opened today, and I'm very interested in knowing what his pilot program is and how we might work together.
Oh, wait, just one more follow-up, Jason. Would that expedite, if there were a pilot program that the city would be willing to adopt, would that expedite the Galvin organization's delivery of the 20 to 25 per year? Could that be advanced? That's a lot of housing stock that could be very useful on the market right now.
Yes, no, that's a great question. In fact, 3 years for 20 to 25 units of affordable housing is an aggressive development schedule. The comment that we made about having more of a consistent pilot program is really just allowing the affordable housing developers here in Hudson to really continue with their mission statement, but also, we would see this incentivizing other affordable housing developers to come into the city of Hudson, which we really need. We need more than what we just have here in the city of Hudson. We need other nonprofit affordable housing developers to help with the needs that we face in the city of Hudson. Does that answer your question?
It begins.
It begins.
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
Let me stay. The most common comment I've heard from people I know in the city, and it sort of begins to address some of the issues you raised, Jason, but is this warehousing. So, the business of warehousing and what's part of what's driving up rents, and that was a common theme, I think, among everybody, is we don't have enough affordable housing. And I think folks have noticed that one of the reasons we don't have a lot of affordable housing is because whole apartment buildings are being taken off the market. And I don't know exactly, I don't have a list of who owns those apartment buildings, but I'm sure Mr. Galvin seems to be one of the owners. And could you talk for a minute about what the current existing housing stock in Hudson is, and how many apartments we have empty, and why they're empty?
That's a very good point.
It's a great question, Peter, and I'd like to address the issue in reference to this we've heard this before about warehousing, but I think it's really important to understand that the Galvin Foundation deliberately bought buildings that needed renovation. And they did this for the goal of making sure these units become affordable housing. That they weren't bought by someone else, by other investors that had other plans. And when we have developments, it takes time. It takes time. Like these 20 to 25 units, this is an aggressive schedule that we have for the next 3 years. But to really understand that the Galvin Foundation has been very busy. We're sitting in one of the buildings that the Galvin Foundation has built for the city of Hudson that did renovation here. It's beautiful. And that was done in the last year and a half. And also the Warren Street Initiative, which is mainly for the reason of removing blight from our community. And I can go down the list very briefly. In the last 2 years, we have 11 Warren Street, 202, 204 Warren Street, 405 Warren Street, 366 Warren Street, 449 Warren Street, and also 260 Warren Street, which is currently in development. So,
I'm sorry, are you saying those would be developed?
No, all of those have been developed. All of those have been developed. 202, 204.
So they're not, those are not affordable housing properties.
But my point is that it's part of our mission to help the city of Hudson, and we continue with our mission with, in fact, 202, 204 was part of affordable housing that we created for apartments, beautiful apartments that are affordable housing. But the Galvin Foundation continues with its mission. We just kind of announced what we're doing in the next 3 years and what we're going to do in the future. But these buildings that people use the terminology warehousing, it's not warehousing. This was a goal for us to make sure that all of these units that are out there in these buildings are going to be affordable housing for the city of Hudson.
Sure. Sure. I don't need a microphone. My name is John Kane. I actually have John Kane. Just a couple of quick questions. Brenda, for you, does Habitat for Humanity always focus on single-family homes? Do they ever work on higher density housing? I mean, we are not an urban area. This is not downtown Manhattan, but density is something that helps us put.
We focus on the single-family ownership. The houses that we did quite a bit of infill housing on Columbia Street. There were 3 different attached housing projects. The important thing that we feel for the financial security and stability is that it be a home ownership as opposed to a home rental program. So this is one of the other things. When we were evaluating the kinds of homes that we were building, we looked at Hudson specifically, and we understood that there were 2 strong threats to home ownership in Hudson. The first was rising property values. I mean, even in 2008, when property values were failing everywhere in the country, they stayed strong in Hudson and they continued to rise in Hudson, which was forcing people out. So the first threat was rising property values. The other threat was fuel costs, or the cost to heat your home. So we started building passive houses, which are super insulated, high technology houses that are cost less to maintain and operate. And that model, the more attached houses we build, the less expensive per square foot it is to build. So they can be built as long as we can use a 0 lot line rule, which exists in Hudson. We can attach 3 or 6 or 9 houses together, but each of those houses, per our program, would have to be an individual ownership, because we feel that's what gives the family the financial security, is the ownership versus the rental piece.
No, definitely.
But so the challenge for that would be to find the land to do that, the open land to do that. But yes, we could do multiple units that were in single ownership.
I'm sorry, you had also said that Habitat for Humanity had engaged in 2 bids that you lost to buy property in the city. Were those city-owned properties? Were those controlled by another organization?
They were owned by either HCDPA or what are the 2 acronyms? HCDPA or Hudson Development Corporation, HDC. And we were the only bidders. It was the same property 2 times. We were the only bidders in both cases. We met the minimum bids and our bids were declined.
Any reason given? Just
because there was the lack of an overall housing plan, and the fact that resources needed to be held until needs were understood and potentially larger density projects were identified. But no other developers have come forward.
Can I just have a quick question to each panelist? What are the 3 what would you say are the 3 major explanations for the rising prices and the lack of affordable housing? Anthony, you just got here yesterday, I know. Go ahead.
Well, as somebody who's not from Hudson and who's new to the area, Hudson does have a reputation that precedes it, and seeing the popularity of the folks that could come up from the city. I just hope what doesn't happen is that Hudson doesn't become a passing fancy, because right now, everyone's seeing the property values go up and the rents skyrocket. But is anyone asking the question, well, what's going to happen if that attention that Hudson gets from New York City starts waning? you will still have the low and middle income people here, which is why it's so important that we do address this problem. I've walked around Hudson a bunch of times. It's such a charming little city. I can obviously see the appeal to people outside of the city to come up here, but as far as any one particular reason why Hudson and why not another city, honestly I have no answer for that. But it is contributing to the decrease in affordable housing that's available.
So the market forces are raising the cost of housing in Hudson. Do you, and I don't want to change my question a little bit, do you know of any communities that have encountered this and have taken some kind of action to protect the low-income people in communities where this is happening? So that's, Jason, go ahead. Jason, you take the first.
Yeah, I couldn't answer to that. I'm not aware of how other communities are dealing with it or have dealt with it. But I know everything we're talking about here in terms of, we really have a declining stock of housing here. We truly do. And the rise of real estate prices is truly affecting this city when it comes to affordable housing. The waiting lists for affordable housing are huge. And people are literally have to leave the city. We offer counseling to people. And it's a big problem when they come into our office to be counseled, and when we have to tell them that they're living in their car and we have to put them on a waiting list. It's a very tough thing for us to do. It truly is. And we try our best to try to offer what we can, even putting homeless people at the top of the list when someone comes in homeless. Even with that, our waiting list is over 600 people looking for housing. It's very tough.
I'm just curious, when you announced the 21 or 25 properties, it sounded like you were saying that those properties are going to be for people with sort of middle income.
No. In fact, just so we're very clear, 50 to 80, and just to be really clear on that, 30% AMI is considered low income. 50% very low income, and 80% low income. So we're taking care of the very low income and low income population here. We, as I mentioned before, we have 186 units of affordable housing. A large portion of that is 30%. So we do take care of 30% AMI families in the city of Hudson. So what we're planning here is affordable housing. We're definitely planning affordable housing with these 20. Yes, absolutely.
Is there, a quick question, rents in these 186 units, is it possible to freeze the rents? Is it possible to lower the rents? Is that something that Galvin could do immediately?
Well, a lot of our programs are regulated. And we are forced to have, we have to abide by our regulatory agreements when it comes to standards for rents. But be assured, they are low. They are low. People with vouchers, that really helps a lot. A lot of these people can't afford even $200 a month or $100 a month. And these vouchers come in, and they cover a large percentage of the rents that these people have to pay. So we're a big fan of the voucher program. But in reference to rents, these standards are set based on the regulatory agreements. But they are low. And if anybody ever wanted to know a little bit more about that, I could actually be more than happy to discuss what actually those rents are.
Brenda, sorry. Cut you off, go ahead.
So I think that part of what contributes to this issue is the same thing. Part of what unites us also divides us. I think that whether you've lived here for 4 generations or whether you have lived here for 4 years, it's the quality of life that brings you to Hudson and Columbia County. Whether it's the landscapes or the history or the people or the opportunities that are available to live and to learn and to be part of a community, Hudson and Columbia County is a high spot. And I think that that is also a challenge, because I think that the housing study, and I haven't read it recently, but I did read it when it was first published, indicated that Hudson had, if not the oldest, and Carol probably knows this, one of the oldest inventories and one of the most diverse inventories of historic architecture of any city. Is that correct? It is. So you think about that. You've got a large housing stock that's over 100 years old. You think of the work that it takes to rehab or to bring that housing stock back up to safe and livable conditions. And that amount of money is really beyond what a developer would spend for affordable housing. If you have to spend $400,000 to sell a house for $125,000, the numbers just don't work. And so maybe you buy that house for $65,000. You're a family, maybe of 1 or 2 adults. You're working 2 or 3 jobs, because that's how the jobs work in Columbia County. They're not well-paying jobs with pensions and benefits. Everybody's cobbling together a lifestyle of different jobs and different opportunities. And maybe you have 1 vehicle, or maybe you have 2 vehicles, and maybe you've got 2 kids, and one's in daycare and one's in after school. You are struggling to make it all work, to balance. So where are you going to find the time to do that home improvement yourself? Even if you have the money to buy the paint, even if you have the expertise to safely remove the lead, even if you knew about asbestos reviews and removals and all of the requirements that you're expected to follow in order to do that safely, where would a working family find the time and the resources to do that? So it's a blessing and a curse that we have this wonderful inventory of historic houses, and we have to figure out collectively a way to make that work. I also think that I'm on my town board in a small town in Columbia County that's north of here. I know that what we struggle to do is to bring people together and to figure out how to make resources work. I think our officials, as well as our businesses and as well as community members, we really need to think about how to leverage housing development. The 15 houses that we built in Hudson, we spent $2.25 million in goods and services. Now that does not include the 4,000 volunteers that worked on those houses and ate lunch and bought birthday presents and took their friends out to dinner. That's what we bought in goods and services. Now that's not a good number in terms of the development of our costs, because we had professional services, we had engineers, we had architects, we had surveyors, we had title companies that donated their resources as their part toward supporting community affordable housing development in Columbia County. So if that were a real development number, it would be 30, maybe 40% higher. And we also, that 4,000 volunteer hours, that's labor costs that we didn't expend. So if you were a for-profit developer, that would have been additional jobs or additional labor in Columbia County. So there's a real opportunity here to look at affordable housing as an economic factor and its importance. And the other side, I think, of the economic equation is that when employers think about relocating here or expanding their business here, one of the things they think about is, where are my employees going to live? I mean, there's at least one company that I'm aware of that has just under 100 employees, and more than half of their employees live in Greene County. Now, Greene County is a really nice place, but those employees would have preferred to be in Hudson, or they would have preferred to be outside of Hudson, but guess what? There's no housing available for them. Not just that there's no housing available, there's no housing available for them at any cost, at any reasonable cost. Think about what that would mean if we had 50 more families in Hudson in the school district, 50 more families that were available to volunteer in the fire company. So I think that we need to think beyond the scope of we have a need to fill for affordable housing. We also need to think about how it connects to all of these other issues. And how do we prime this pump? How do we fund the resources and the people to make this happen? And the last thing I would say, and I'm going to have to say this and run because I have another meeting, is part of qualifying for a Habitat house is that we do a home inspection. The houses that I have seen in Hudson are worse than anything I've seen in India or a third world country. There are illegal apartments. There are houses with blue tarps over 2-foot holes in the wall. We've had families that have had to move 3 times in 12 months or 18 months because every house they lived in had lead paint, and they had to move because their children were tested for lead and they had high lead levels and they had no choice but to move. One of the families we settled on Columbia Street lived in what I'm sure was an illegal apartment. The roof caved in on their infant child because of the snow load. The whole family was awakened by the collapse of the roof. Fortunately, the baby was taken to baby is my term, he was 1.5 years old. He was taken to the emergency room and he was fine. He was covered in plaster dust. The landlord's solution was to blame the family for the roof collapse, to clean up the debris and to put a blue tarp over the roof. Now, it was substandard, it was freezing temperatures outside, and that family lived for 6 weeks in those conditions until I could find temporary housing to get them into their habitat house. I really do believe, and I know perhaps among the city officials that are here tonight, I know that there was a plan at one point that houses could be inspected when tenants leave if there had been a report made to the code officer. And I don't know if that was ever adapted by the city of Hudson, but I really, really, really believe that at a minimum, the substandard housing should be inspected and that landlords should be required to bring those houses up to code before another family is placed in those homes because it is really, it's unbelievable what one of our families are living in. So I want to look at the opportunity presented by this challenge, and I also want to say that there are other small steps that we can take along the way to get there. And in the event that I don't get to say goodbye, thank you so much for allowing me to be here.
Brenda said she had to leave early, so if anyone want to throw a question quick? If you have one for Brenda.
Yeah, and I know like you seem like you get a little bit uncomfortable when I raise my hand also. But I don't have a question for Brenda. You know, but I just noticed I do notice that Brenda talked for and she has some great information, but it was an extended period of time, and it was an explanation of certain things. And again, Reverend Cross is an expert also, and he should have been afforded that time. Putting that to the side, I don't know if anybody else, I just feel myself as a citizen of Hudson, I just feel a little bit uncomfortable at this forum because I'm just hearing a lot of things. I hear a lot of talk. However, I just know also working, hearing a bunch of individuals come up to me and complain within the last year of living in housing for the last 14 to 16 years. Living in the same apartment, living and the rent was a certain rent. However, they were forced to move because of the Galvin Foundation and the purchase that they bought, the building. And they were forced to move based on the rent increase, the high rent increase. So I find it really interesting to find, someone from Galvin on the panel speaking about affordable housing when there was again, maybe I'm wrong, but from the individuals that I go out and I serve, a lot of those individuals complain about the Galvin Foundation and them being put out of their house because of some of these purchases. I understand about the purchases on Warren Street. Doesn't do me any good. Doesn't do a lot of individuals that's been in this city for generations any good. They don't shop on Warren Street. They don't do anything on Warren Street because they've been pushed off of Warren Street for one reason or another. I know what that reason is, but I'll keep that to the side. But again, there's a lot of individuals that were pushed out of their homes because of rents that got increased but they couldn't afford. And I just wanted to say that. This is a fact.
Can I give you 2 more, a minute and a half? Can I give you another minute and a half? Tell this room what you think should be done.
What
should we do? We're a community here, let's talk, so go ahead.
One of the things I think we should stop talking. I think we've been talking for a long time. That's the first thing we should do. We should stop talking about something, and we should have some action. That's one of the things that that I'm not an expert. However, I'm a result. So I would again be listening from the experts. We need to listen to more, individuals that's more representative of the community and the people that's being impacted, by this lack of affordable housing. So we need to open some of these doors, to some of these other voices, as opposed to the same lily white community that we've been listening to.
So how do we get those voices then?
How do we get those voices?
Come on.
Get somebody more representative to moderate this forum as opposed to you.
Okay, that's one. I'm glad to be in this position.
No disrespect to you.
That's all right.
I'm
No, I've been
saying,
there, man.
somebody more representative
Okay.
than the problem to get up there that has some solutions and things like that as opposed to dictating the conversation in the room.
Okay.
You know.
All right, anything else?
I just jump on to such a thought there that I think that clearly private investment is not doing that, or is not to be trusted to handle this problem, and saying that you're going to do something and provide a certain amount of housing is not enough. We actually need policy, and we have very little policy in Hudson when it comes to protecting renters and tenants, far less than almost any city. So I think we need to look at and put in place real policy, and I want to hear from the people who are running for election in the next cycle of what policies they're going to put forward so that we actually have some laws to protect our tenants in the city. I think one of those policies should include banning dedicated Airbnbs. If we're not talking about Airbnb as a major problem of taking housing stock off the market, that's ridiculous, because there's people coming up, literally talking in the coffee shop, I can overhear them, about what houses they want to buy so that they can turn it into an Airbnb investment house. So those are houses and homes, and oftentimes, smaller apartments is what they like to buy. Apartments that actually would be affordable for a small family or low-income person or family to rent are now being turned into high-end Airbnbs for people who don't even live here in the city or who live in another house and this is just their investment income. Hudson should not be a place for people to make money off of housing. Nobody should be getting rich off of housing. If there are are renting out an extra room or going to stay with a friend on the weekend so that they can afford their own house, okay, like maybe that we leave. And then that 4% tax should not go back into tourism and funding arts and tourism. That seems to be doing just fine without funding. That should go directly into affordable housing and housing for people in the community. That is ridiculous that that money is being directed towards families.
Terrific, thanks. Sir.
Thank you. Hi, my name is Mark Morgan-Perez. I'm a relatively new resident in Hudson.
You here?
Hi, my name is Mark Morgan-Perez. I'm a relatively new resident in Hudson, and I've worked in affordable housing development for the past. I've worked in affordable housing development for the past 15 years, and I have, I guess, one comment regarding Habitat for Humanity and a question for Mr. O'Toole of Galvin. I worked in New York City for Habitat for Humanity New York, and one of the ways that we can make housing affordable is density. You can still have home ownership without having it just be single-family housing, and one of the reasons that housing is so expensive in Hudson is land cost. So as much, I really think what Habitat for Humanity Columbia County has done is great, but I also think going forward, having a 2-family home or a 3-family home that is affordable home ownership would make much more sense and serve many more people, would serve double or triple the people that they serve already. So that's something would have liked to have asked Ms. Adams. Anyway, that's something that in New York City Habitat for Humanity does, which is multi-family home ownership at the same or similar income levels. The question that I have for Mr. O'Toole is, you mentioned Galvin acquired all of these properties and has been designated for affordable housing, but what I find disturbing or confusing, or what I would like to understand from you, is that there are many Galvin entities. Only one of them, one of them, is a library, another one, maybe owns another building. One is a nonprofit, but then there are for-profit entities. So what is the strategy between the non-for-profit pieces of Galvin and the market rate pieces of Galvin? Because that's something that I've never heard anything about in the years that I've been following the activities of Mr. Galloway and the different entities.
You're the man.
Thank you, Mark, for your question. I would like to just comment that actually all of our affiliates are nonprofit, all of them. The only for-profit affiliate we have is our development, which is Galvin Partners, and they have nothing to do with our housing. In reference to affordable housing as a developer, it's important to have a mix of units inside your portfolio. You need that to be able to sustain your desire to do developments. We do developments for commercial, but affordable commercial. Our mission is to offer affordable commercial to entrepreneurs that want to come into the city. We are committed to 80% AMI across the board for all of our housing. So I hope I answered your question correctly, but we don't, again, your comment about the majority of our affiliates being for-profit is incorrect. We are a nonprofit organization.
We have, Ed, go ahead.
Sorry. I have a challenge for you because 25 years ago, somebody told me that the high-rise was going to be torn down. He had that vision. He also said that all the houses on Front Street were going to be torn down, and they were going to be, what was going to happen to them was that the more affluent were going to step in and occupy those houses. I believe that. Now, where are you going to put me when it all happens? Because I truly believe that. We need to keep our eyes open. We need to keep our eyes open. Because I believe that this town is being groomed. It's being groomed, and we're not included in the circle. God bless you.
I actually wanted to speak to that person right there. So I actually wanted to make a comment to the gentleman that's leaving. I'm sorry. I just wanted to comment first. No, one moment. I'd love to have more dialogue with you because I think you bring up some great points, and I think that I think having a dialogue with you will understand a little bit more about the Galvin Foundation because I feel we're very important as part of the solution to this as well, as you are very important for the solution too. So I think a dialogue between us would be very helpful. I really do, because really the Galvin Foundation is committed to affordable housing in the city of Hudson and other things as well. But our passion is to help social causes, and this is a real social cause. And I think there would be value in us having a conversation. So I just wanted to put that out to you. Thank you.
Thanks. Yes?
I just want to get a quick idea, talking about quality of life and what brings people to Hudson. And I just read that it was one of the top art communities in the country. And just this is an aside, because obviously the priority is affordable housing and homes for people. But a lot of cities have had affordable art studios to get the art community more economic, developing economic development, adding to the city. So that's just a comment that maybe could figure in there somewhere. And the question I have is, what you raised about the making a profit if you're not living here and all that. How do you control that? How do you get around that? You can't, I don't understand how you do that. If you don't want it to happen and profit shouldn't be made from housing from people who don't live here, how do you get around it?
Are you talking about the Airbnb situation?
Pardon me?
Are you referring to the Airbnb situation?
Yeah.
I just wanted to say before we start to maybe disband a little bit, our next forum is going to focus on Airbnb and some efforts that are being made in other parts of the country, in other cities, other towns even nearby. Woodstock has some interesting approaches to it, although they're very different communities. as Shia said, push for the lodging tax be enforced, number one. And also, and if anybody doesn't know what the lodging tax is, somebody else can explain it, 'cause I'm not great at that, but that it not only be enforced, but that the funds that come from that tax you put back into the social services of the city.
But I wasn't talking, I was just talking about not just Airbnbs, about people that see, oh, this house is great, I'm gonna invest in that, and then fix it up, and then sell it for double the profit, that kind of thing. I mean, you can't stop that, but there's gotta be some kind of balance.
So, you had a question?
Yes, I want to know, what do you deem as affordable housing?
The sheet that Ms. Audi, no, the sheet, I'm gonna answer real quickly. It's not going to be a sufficient answer, but Jason referred to the 80% AMI, which is a sort of a basing affordable housing on the amount of income people make. So the affordable housing, the definition from the federal government is here. I'm not going to read it now, but it's on the sheet. It gives you a good idea what is considered affordable housing. We have a few minutes left for questions, but I want to save a few minutes to have Tiffany and Rebecca talk about.
She has a question, and she has a question.
I know. We'll get.
Terry has a question.
Thank you.
I have a very easy technical question. We're film beautificationing from Philmont Village. It's working on a housing plan, and there are several people in the community in this panel. The housing survey that was done by the consultant from DSS, where is that available from?
If you take the same paper I just referred to, it's called Affordable Housing in Hudson, a timeline, and it was available outside. You turn to the other sources. I think this is what you're talking about. The analysis, the other sources is on the back page. The second citation is Analysis of the Housing Needs of Hudson, New York, 2012 by Hudson Community Development and Planning Agency, and it's available on the web. And it's a beautiful document, and everybody should read it.
We will, thank you.
Okay. Anybody else? Go ahead.
This may be way behind the 8 ball here, but as a matter of policy, has there been any needs assessment done in the communities who need affordable housing? Has anybody, I mean, it just seems like there's this real disconnect between everybody talking about it and then everybody who's affected by it.
I don't know, yeah, this document would be probably a good place to start. It's got a lot of information, a lot of those kinds of statistics. And then a lot of what we heard tonight from the panelists, I heard a lot of, we need more affordable housing from these folks who know a lot about it. So I think, the numbers are there. Oh, this lady hasn't spoken yet, I'm sorry.
Hi, I'm Terry Sullivan. I just wanted to ask you a quick question. You spoke about the homeless population before. What percentage of those are veterans? Do you know, do you ever break that down?
You know, that's a great question. And yeah, I don't have that information.
There are no homeless veterans in Columbia County. What's his name? Kennedy. Flaherty, sorry. Flaherty takes a very strong interest in that and has dedicated his life service to, there are no homeless veterans in Columbia.
That's amazing.
That's amazing.
Did you have a question? She has a question.
Go ahead.
I'm having a hard time formulating, which is why I put my hand down, but I'm really just curious. I'm not an expert on this, so it's hard for me to articulate it clearly, but I'm curious about the community land trust model for affordable housing, which, in my understanding, would be sort of a third approach that's not necessarily top-down or not led by the city necessarily, but could be led by an initiative of citizens, could derive funding from the community in a number of ways, as opposed to maybe investment funding with all the very real economic constraints that ends up creating. So I guess I'm interested if anyone in the room is familiar with community land trusts and would be able or interested to sort of lead a session on that for those of us that are looking to learn more, and also for those of you on the panel, how those approaches might relate to the work that you're doing or overlap with the work that you're doing.
Terrific. Michael, did you have an answer?
Yeah,
Go ahead and ask.
I'm somewhat educated in that respect. The community land trust model takes speculation out of the equation. And so the property on which a building sits is in a trust and cannot appreciate, and the building on top of it, therefore, is not worth as much as it would be if it was transferring hands as a regular property transaction. So this has been used to very good effect in nearby Great Barrington, Massachusetts, where they have an affordable housing development and a farm and a number of different properties that are all under the Southern Berkshires Land Trust. And they just had their annual meeting 2 weeks ago. I'm a member of that land trust. The other big example of it is the Dudley Street Cooperative, which is a Roxbury area of Boston, which has hundreds of units that have been developed. It had a unique situation that the city of Boston had a whole bunch, hundreds of units of unused and abandoned housing, and Dudley Street was able to take possession of those properties for nothing. So we're not quite in that situation, but the idea is worth studying in the context of the limited amount of property that we have here in Hudson, because certain amounts of houses do go into the city's hands because of tax foreclosures. And I would argue that we ought to deal with them in an organized way that would include potentially a housing trust. So I would be happy to lead a discussion in that regard and see what we can do about clarifying how it would apply to our situation.
Michael, can you make sure to grab my card before you leave? Thank you.
And thank you. On that note, I think we're out of time. And to sum up, I'll hand the mic back to Tiffany, and what I hope, other than thanking everybody for coming tonight, I hope you'll give us a little more information about what the future looks like for this group and what you guys are planning. Thank you all.
Well, I would like to thank all the panelists for coming out and giving us information. If you haven't left your signed in, please sign in, and that way you can keep informed of the next forum and spread the word so everyone can participate. We would like to hear from everyone. As Rebecca stated, the next topic on the forum will be on Airbnbs and the profits and where they should or can go and things of that nature. So if you know any Airbnb owners, we ask you to invite them as well. That information will be out soon as Rebecca Wolf coordinated it. I would like you all to please give Rebecca Wolf a big hand. She's one fantastic community member, and she knows, she hears the needs, she's working with elected officials, and she's getting things done. And we see that the crowd is growing, so we know the need for affordable housing is indeed. Thank you all again for coming, and please leave your information if you have any personal questions. Catch these guys before they go. Thank you. Can everyone hear me in the back? Can everyone hear me in the back? Okay. Thank you all for coming out this evening. This is an affordable housing movement. This is our second forum on affordable housing. If you did not receive the literature or sign in out front, there's some information on what the guidelines mean for you and your family and the introduction of affordable housing. It's helpful information if you don't have it. I would like to introduce to you our moderator for this evening, Peter Meyer. We also have Brenda Adams from Habitat of Humanity. We have Jason O'Toole from Galvin Resources. And we also have Anthony Lawlett from Bliss Towers, Executive Director of Public Housing. We're going to start the forum. The moderator will introduce the speakers as they begin, and we will hold questions at the end. Thank you. Peter?
I can at least test this. I'm not sure if I need it. Tiffany did fine without it, I think, right?
No, it's better.
It's better with this, right? Okay. So, welcome everyone. Thank you, Tiffany. Thank you, Rebecca Wolf. If you don't know Rebecca Wolf, Michael, is she in the room? I don't know. You might have met her at the desk. For organizing this event along with Michael Chamides. And I'm really, you're making, is this okay? Can we hear? And I really appreciate the turnout tonight. This is a great event, and I was very pleased to be asked to be moderator. I thought it might have had something to do that I used to be on the school board and was, probably good at crowd control. In fact, I just came from a 3rd grade graduation of sorts today, and we're starting a program in Hudson teaching kids how to be journalists. And one of our interns, Olivia Audi, prepared one of the handouts tonight, and I'm really proud of what she's been able to do in a short time, learning how to research and write. And I would also, any of the handouts you get for you old-timers, veterans of Hudson that know much more than we know, please let us know so that we can correct the record. And I'm not going to introduce, you just heard who the panelists are. We'll get to these folks in a moment, and Tiffany outlined what the program would be. They'll be speaking each for about 5 minutes, who they are and what they do and what they think is, and why we're here. Then from there we'll go asking questions, and we want this to be a forum, so we expect a conversation, which I will try to moderate, and that'll be the way we go. The best way. I don't know the sort of official history of affordable housing in Hudson, but I know when I got here in the 80s, the public housing projects were the shining lights on a hill when you got to Hudson. In those days, I always remember seeing what I now know are the terrace apartments on the river, with the grass cut and the grass green, and they look beautiful. Bliss Towers look beautiful. It was the rest of Hudson. The rest of Hudson didn't look beautiful, and we've gone from that point to the opposite, to a time when the affordable housing units, the public housing units, are beginning to fail, and the rest of the town looks spectacular. We've gone from affordable housing to $1 million houses, to rents that people can't afford. My friends downtown have been talking about their rents going up for at least 6 months. I had a conversation with Ed Cross about 3 weeks ago, maybe a little longer, and both of us, just in our 10-15 minute conversation, we both realized that something very important is happening in Hudson. And I'm very happy that I was allowed to come down and moderate this event. So, without further ado, let's let Brenda go. Is Brenda going first, or we'll just go? No, Jason.
Yes.
You can stand. You can have the mic. Go ahead. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. My name again is Jason O'Toole. I'm the Director of Property Management for the Galvin Foundation. And I wanted to start first by letting you know what our mission is. The Galvin Foundation's mission is to enhance the quality of life of people and communities of Columbia County. And we do this by providing solutions to current and future needs of our communities. Planning programs and initiatives that address the diverse economic and social needs of our communities. And we provide grants to other nonprofit organizations so that we can strengthen their capacity to help others in the community. And we develop real estate and provide direct services responsive to the community needs. And we work with others that really are in line with our mission and that are committed to strengthening the needs of the communities. And affordable housing is one of the key elements to our mission statement. And the Galvin Foundation has been here since 2004 with a strong commitment to the social issues and needs of the communities. And Galvin Foundation has 186 units of affordable housing. And we serve the families of our communities that have income limits between 30% and 80% AMI, area medium income. And I think it's important to note that the area medium income is established by the United States Housing and Urban Development, or short HUD. And we really are committed to our community and to the future in reference to affordable housing. And tonight, we actually wanted to take this forum to announce something. So the Galvin Foundation is really proud to announce this evening that we are committed in the next 3 years to provide 20 to 25 units of affordable housing for the city of Hudson for families with the income limits between 50% and 80% AMI. We're going to provide 1- and 2-bedroom apartments. We're very proud about this announcement. And the Galvin Foundation is committed to the community and to the future